I've been saying this since last year.
Allen looking for the pylon, leaps for the goal line, and he's in. And the beast has once again been released.
Good teams find ways to win.
We got to go on the road to a divisional opponent. It's going to be a big challenge for us.
You want to be challenged week in, week out with different things against the best teams when it matters most.
Week 2 begins tonight. The Buffalo Bills in Miami taking on the Dolphins. A little weather there right now. We'll show you that in a minute. But welcome to NFL Live. Dan Orlovsky is here. Mina Kimes, Marcus Spears, Ryan Clark, Adam Schefter joins us throughout. Jeff Darlington here as well. Dan, is that a air guitar? You got it on both sides?
It sounded like there was some. Well, yeah.
I didn't know if you were doing a ukulele or what. All right, let's get to the news tonight. Raheem Mostert will not be playing in this game. Ruled out. He didn't practice this week. He's dealing with that chest injury, something to keep an eye on for sure. Jeff Darlington is in South Florida ahead of tonight's game. And, Jeff, all eyes now turn to Devon Achane and his availability tonight. He's also dealing with injury. What do we know there?
Well, we know it's pouring rain, Laura, so that's great. We just lost some power out here.
Goodness.
Got no lights on me. You know, that's not great. But I'm still
Our pets'
I'm
heads are
active for
falling
tonight,
off?
unlike Raheem Mostert, who's not playing because of the chest injury. But we do know that Devon Achane will, in fact, play. That, according to sources who say that, aside from anything that were to happen during any kind of pregame warm-ups, his ankle is good to go. A day ago, he was on the practice field. You see him out there right here. It was a walkthrough. It was about 75% speed, but he was able to go, did not miss any repetitions. So we do anticipate Devon Achane getting a full workload, and in fact, perhaps even more than a full workload considering that Raheem Mostert is out of this game. So pretty nasty out here at Hard Rock. We'll see if it clears up at all. You know, it matters to me, but probably not to the rest of the team.
Yeah, no, it matters. I mean, Jeff, you're under shelter, so I don't know what you're complaining about. You are a little backlit, though, so we'll see if we get the lights turned on you there.
A little backlit.
You're joining us in just a little bit.
I care about my vanity right now. So.
I'm aware. Achane, by the way, had 181 scrimmage yards and 3 touchdowns in 2 games versus the Bills last season. Jeff was just still talking there. Marcus, how important will it be for Achane to be out there tonight?
Jeff, shut the hell up. Let us get to the show.
I'm just barreling over him. I'm like, we're moving on. Go ahead.
Nah, that's my guy, man. Look, we saw last week with the swing passes and the creativity, obviously, in space of Devon Achane. And I think that's an element, obviously, when they lost him last year, that they lost. He had an injury, but we saw it come to fruition against the Jacksonville Jaguars on these swing passes and yards after the catch. But more importantly, a year ago, I had a conversation about what's going to be the answer when Tua needs to extend plays. I think this is it. I think this is a big part of it by just getting the ball in this dynamic back's hands with all of this speed so he can create offensively. I think he's a big part, obviously, of what they do in the run game, but the passing game is where he may end up being most effective as the second leader in receptions in game 1.
Yeah, I think it's about the receptions, but it's also about the way that they create big plays using Devon Achane, whether he's a part of the route combination of the play or he's not. They do so much with the eye candy with Achane, with getting him out to a flat, allowing layer routes to that side of the field or across the middle of the field. And obviously when he has the football in his hands, he's extremely dynamic. He's another one of those players that allows Mike McDaniel to be versatile from a formation and personnel standpoint. Now, if you lose him and you have to go to Jeff Wilson more, who's not as good as a pass receiver, who's not as fast or explosive with the football in his hands, I think it does change the way defenses can play against you. But they're still going to be Waddle, they're still going to be Tyreek Hill, and maybe they're used more in the screen game, the jet sweep game, or even Tyreek Hill being a part of the backfield.
Yeah, if I was Miami, I would run the heck out of the football tonight.
Yeah.
Absolutely pound the football. One, I don't really want to single up my offensive linemen versus Rousseau and Von Miller. Both of them started to heat up in the second half last week. 2, Taron Johnson being out for Buffalo is a big deal. He plays every snap. He's one of the best nickels in football. The reason why they can play nickel 5 defensive backs so much is he's so good at both things. That's not easily replaced. And if I was Miami, I would line up in all my different personnels, 21 personnel, 2 backs, 1 tight end, 12 personnel, 1 back, 2 tight ends, and pound the football. And if you're going to play with a backup nickel in the game, you're going to get a heavy dose of either of our backs. I think Buffalo's going to continue to play their shell defense, 2 safeties, and I think this is a 35 to 40 carry game for the Dolphins offense.
I could see them also using their fullback, Dan, Alec Ingold, because of what you described. Something we saw last year, the Bills' defense, even when they had Taron Johnson, at times struggled to defend teams that ran the ball out of heavy personnel because they played so light. My perspective, when the Bills are in coverage, and they will a fair amount in this game, what's so important, and you really saw this on display against Jacksonville last week with Miami, you have to change the picture on Tua Tagovailoa. I thought the Jags did an excellent job of that. They actually disguised coverage at the second highest rate in the NFL last week, showing man, playing zone, spinning their safeties. That's a defense to keep an eye on. The Bills are capable of that as well, or they have been in the past, but there's a lot of youth back there. You lose Taron Johnson, who's your best player in the secondary. The job gets a little more difficult, but if they play straight up, they will get burned through the air.
Yeah, we're going to make our game picks later on, too, so stay tuned for that. Marcus, you were putting a heart up when Dan was talking about running the ball. I just wonder why.
I just never thought I'd hear today he said run it 35 to 40 times. This is a breakthrough on NFL Live today. I don't know if people really understand how emotional I am about this, man.
Here's the thing, though.
Come on to the wild side, Dio.
Here's the thing. I was the quarterback that wanted to run the ball 35, 40 times a game. I don't want to chuck and dunk.
You want other quarterbacks to really throw it. Dan, come on. Don't underestimate your own arm. All right, let's bring Jeff back in here. The biggest story in Miami, Jeff, over the last week was the pregame detainment of Tyreek Hill for a traffic violation. How has the team dealt with it while also getting ready for a football game on a short week?
Well, Laura, it really is interesting because this is a short week, which is a challenge for any NFL team, but coming off of something that was as emotionally taxing on this team. And by the way, not just Tyreek Hill, but his teammates as well. Now, one thing I should point out is that Tyreek spent 14 minutes speaking with the media yesterday, a day before the game, and there wasn't one question about football. But Tua Tagovailoa made very clear that this is not something they simply wanted to brush aside. They didn't want to ignore it this week and just focus on football. They felt like it was more natural to talk about it. I will say Mike McDaniel said he believes fully in his team's ability to stay focused when it comes to the task at hand. And Tyreek Hill, during those 14 minutes, while not fielding football questions, did mention the fact that he believes that it is his job. It is his lifeblood to come out here and play ball. That is what he does, and that is what he believes he will do against the Bills tonight.
Just about 4 hours till week 2 kicks off.
Hours? Arrows?
Thanks to Jeff for the latest.
In practice this week due to that calf strain and Achilles tendonitis. Now, McCaffrey is operating with the mindset that he's going to try to play, but it'll be another thing if he actually does. We'll see if he can make his way back to the field for Sunday's game in Minnesota. If not, the 49ers will roll yet again with Jordan Mason, who played very well on Monday night. Meanwhile, another day, another no practice for T. Higgins due to that hamstring injury. And that means he is tracking not to play on Sunday against the Chiefs, who look like they'll be without Hollywood Brown, who also didn't practice today. But that hamstring injury for T. Higgins looks like it's turning into a multi-week absence. And we saw at the end of the game on Sunday, the Seahawks running back Kenneth Walker III leave the game due to an abdomen injury. He said he was good, but he didn't practice at all yesterday. That'll be worth watching this week. If he can't play, Zach Charbonnet would step in his stead and play against the Patriots. But Walker is dealing once again with the abdomen injury. And the Browns released their injury report moments ago, and Myles Garrett did not practice today due to a foot injury. Never like to see a DNP show up on a Thursday with a key player like Myles Garrett in a game that the Browns have to win, but that is indeed the case. No practice today from Myles Garrett. And the Steelers quarterback situation continues to unfold, where Mike Tomlin has said that they are preparing Justin Fields to start Sunday against Russell Wilson's former Denver Broncos team. Now, Wilson said today that his calf is feeling a little bit better. It's a day-to-day process, but right now it continues moving in the direction of Fields starting in a game that Russell Wilson, I'm sure, would really like to play and play well.
Good point there, being against the Broncos. More from Adam in just a little bit. But Dan, what should Pittsburgh's game plan for Justin Fields be this week?
Yeah, I think this is the lowest scoring game in the NFL this week, and both defenses are really good. I think Surtain versus George Pickens is going to be must-watch television. Number one, I would call a ton of RPOs from condensed formations on early downs. I think Justin reads them out well. It gives him the opportunity to be a runner, and it frees up some space for this offense to get easy yards on early downs. You read that defensive end. Justin's very good at it. It helps your run game. Number 2, cut the field in half. 1 to 2 to 3, Justin's just goes so. Justin's thing is sometimes he plays slow. Well, this will expedite how fast he plays. He gets this ball out of his hand, decision made, check down in about 3 seconds. Again, the efficiency of their offense. Third, and I think he's very good at this as well, the keeper game. You get him outside the pocket, you ball fake. I think they're going to continue to try to run the football. Multiple levels for him to distribute the ball. He throws really well on the run. I think Arthur Smith did a fantastic job last week of making sure Atlanta's safeties did not ruin the game. I think he needs to have the same philosophy with Patrick Surtain and then this 5-man blitz package from Denver. The best way to do that, stay ahead of the chains.
Well, the big thing is this. They're not playing a team with Jesse Bates and Justin Simmons that will be sitting in between the numbers. So you can approach the middle of the field, at least to me this week, a little differently. Yeah. And you'll have to. Is A.J. Terrell a very good corner? Yes. Is he Patrick Surtain II? Hell no. And if you watched that game last week between the Seattle Seahawks and the Denver Broncos, you saw that DK Metcalf had a tough time catching the football down the field. So it's going to be about who is the complement this week to George Pickens. Can Freiermuth get involved in this game in between the numbers? Can you use Calvin Austin in different ways with jet sweeps and also finding ways to put the football in his hands early? And we watched the check down to Najee Harris. Can they involve him in the pass game to get the football out of Justin Fields' hands really quickly? I love what Arthur Smith did last week because he protected Justin. Now I think it's time to take the next step of opening the offense up a little bit more, but not putting him in a place where he gets sort of analysis or paralysis by analysis.
Yeah, Fields completed 74% of his passes on Sunday. That was his highest in a road game over the last 2 seasons. Let's get to the Packers. Jordan Love is out this week with a knee injury, meaning Malik Willis is going to get the start against the Colts. Willis joined the team a little over 2 weeks ago, and while Matt LaFleur has said he's picking up the playbook, you got to wonder how limited their plan may be. Mina, when you think about this situation for the Packers at quarterback, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think about the Indianapolis Colts, who last week played the Texans with a ton of light boxes, which was a big part of why Joe Mixon basically galloped through them. Not going to be the case this week. I expect Gus Bradley and this defense to stack the box, sell out against the run, both the QB run and Josh Jacobs. So for Willis and for Matt LaFleur, the challenge is, can you take advantage of that? If you're hitting play action, can you throw to those voids in coverage? When you get those one-on-ones, and you're going to get a lot in this game, can you deliver an accurate football in that short to intermediate range? He does not have to be a hero. It's a great offense, a great structure, great play calling. He just has to deliver on a few of those easier passes to keep this thing going.
Okay, I'm with you. Execution, right? Like we think about a couple of years ago, Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers went up to Arizona, if I remember correctly, with no wide receivers. I think they were down to practice squad guys, and he put a plan together in order for that specific week and that team to have success. I think you got to move the launch point as well. We know Willis is an athletic quarterback as well. I think he's comfortable in giving him an option to either take off or push the ball down the field. And Josh Jacobs didn't get traded there for no reason, right? They are going to lean on the run game, and this is not unconventional of the Green Bay Packers. Matt LaFleur has figured out ways at times, to MK's point, to find some light in those boxes. I think you use Malik Willis' legs to create some leverage in the run game, but you also, like I said, the first part, move the launch point and give him some easy access throws. And to Mina's point, when he has those opportunities to push the ball downfield, hopefully he can hit a few of them.
Obviously, the Packers wish Jordan Love was out there, but I think it's going to be fun to see Malik Willis get another opportunity, somebody that we were excited about when he was coming out of the draft. All right, new on NFL Live, Adam Schefter has some news out of Chicago.
All right, Laura, this just in from Chicago. The Bears have released their injury report for today, and neither receiver, Keenan Allen nor Rome Odunze, practiced again today for a second straight day. Keenan Allen is dealing with the heel injury. Rome Odunze is dealing with the knee injury, and that's 2 straight days of DNPs for both players. They play Sunday night in Houston against C.J. Stroud and the high-powered Texans attack, and it looks like the Bears could potentially be shorthanded at wide receiver.
Man, that's not what you want to see. The defense bailed him out week 1, but Caleb Williams won more than Deshaun Watson, who produced just a 9.3 total QBR. Each of the last 2 #1 overall picks, as well as Falcons' new quarterback Kirk Cousins, also couldn't get their offenses rolling. And the early season woes continue for Joe Burrow as he fell to 1-8 in the first 2 weeks of the season in his career. There are so many reasons why you might say that some of this is happening. Some of it is anecdotal, honestly. But when we look for reasons as to why quarterback play wasn't as high as we expected it to be in week 1, what grabbed your attention?
Yeah, I think there are a couple things, Laura, that stand out. One, you got a lot of rookie quarterbacks playing, and historically, rookie quarterbacks have always struggled out the gate. I think a couple of those guys that you mentioned have been struggling for a while. Deshaun Watson, Bryce Young, Kirk Cousins, obviously, with the injury. But another thing I think that's pretty significant is the way defenses are playing offenses, which is to say, basically daring them to either run the ball or check it down. In fact, in week 1, defenses played with light boxes against the run at the highest rate since NGS started tracking the data 8 years ago. They played too high shell coverage at the highest rate since NGS by a pretty dramatic margin. And because of that, you'll see here, the average depth of target for quarterbacks was the lowest it's been in years. Not just the lowest, though. It's been trending down for a while. Took a sharp turn. I mean, we're talking about a full yard down since 2019. So essentially, defenses are making quarterbacks into a bunch of checkdown artists. And when offense gets tight like that, you're going to start to get frustration, sometimes inaccuracies. But for the most part, explosive plays are really hard to come by unless you can run defenses out of those looks.
Yeah, so light boxes, is implying like lesser bodies or lesser bigger bodies, okay? So either numbers or people. So the depth of target thing, this is a very simple offensive counterpoint. One, I have 2 ways to change the fact that you want to play with 2 safeties. One, I have to run you out of it. Okay, so to run you out of it, it takes a commitment to running the football. It takes the efficiency of running the football. And then I actually have to commit to running the ball well. It's not just calling a run and going, hey, get out of too high. And I think because we see so much shotgun and pistol in the NFL right now, the run game for a lot of those teams isn't as impactful. So you're not scaring defenses out of that shell that much. The second thing is, when teams play 2 high safeties, pass game-wise, there's really 4 areas for us to attack. It's the outside the numbers, that honey hole, John Gruden turkey hole shot, or behind those linebackers. These are really low percentage throws on the outside. So working behind the linebackers at 12 or 15 yards is the goal. The only way to do that is either play action or trying to displace those underneath defenders. The best way to displace underneath defenders is play action pass.
Piece of it is, too, is we are just thinking deep shots down the field. What about the intermediate part of the field? What about 10 to 20 yards? If you continue to complete those passes, either defenses loosen up or they try to do something different. Let's have a little IG Instagram creativity, offensive coordinators. Let's put some filters on some things. How about we go in motion? How about we change what it looks like from formation tendencies, right? We change the strength. Think about the Rams and the way that they use Cooper Kupp in the second half of that game against the Detroit Lions. There was a ton of trip slot. You're going to see they're going to motion him open. When you see someone exit down into the play, now he knows that he has cover 3. He's going to fit this ball right between the flat defender and the cover 3 corner. Here, you're going to see a motion man come over with him so they know that it's man-to-man. When he gets into that man-to-man spot, he's able to roll out and push the football down the field. Again, he gets the motion. There's no bump, right? There's no one man running with him. He knows that Cooper Kupp is going to be operating between the flat defender and cover 3 again. They were smart about utilizing pre-snap motion to dictate what they were getting from the other side, indicate what they were getting from the other side, and push the ball in between the zone. But you can't come out, just line up, tell me this is where you are, this is who you are, and this is what you're going to do.
Yeah. Marcus, when you think about the concepts that Dan and RC talked about, how do they make life harder or easier on the front 7?
Yeah, I'll lock into the point.